Hi Mark, nice to have you here.
Sebastian?
So, you're actually a technical fellow of Microsoft, and I just would like to know, what is your role at Microsoft and especially in the Windows Azure team?
So first, technical fellow is the highest technical position at Microsoft. It's for people that want to go the technical track. It's the equivalent in Microsoft levels of a corporate vice president. If you went the management track, you'd be a corporate vice president. There's about 20 technical fellows at the company.
Yeah.
So it's an honor to be part of that group. There's lots of famous names as part of that group. Anders Halsberg is one that you probably know. So as a technical fellow, I was in the Windows division until this summer, and then I switched over to Windows Azure. On the Windows Azure team, Windows Azure is really like an operating system for the cloud, for cloud applications. So there's a lot of parallels between it and an operating system for a machine like Windows. If you draw that parallel out, I'm in the equivalent of the kernel team for the Windows Azure operating system. It's called the Fabric Controller. And as my responsibilities on that team are as an architect for the service models, the way that applications are defined on Windows Azure, and also working on identity and bringing identity systems into the Windows Azure platform, among other things.
Yeah, sounds very interesting. So, and the question is, why actually, by yourself personally, did you change to the Windows Azure team?
Well, so I'm good friends with Dave Cutler, and Dave Cutler, some of you know, is the founder of Windows NT. He left the Windows division with Amitabh Srivastrava, who was a corporate vice president in Windows division about 3 years ago, in 2006, 4 years ago, to start the Windows Azure team. So I was talking with Dave this summer, early this summer, spring. I was talking with Bob Muglia, who's the head of the Server and Tools division, and I talked with Ray Ozzie, and they all were saying, hey, why don't you come over to Windows Azure? We're building out the team. It's the future. So I looked closely at what the cloud was. A lot of people don't know what the cloud is, and I didn't know. I hadn't really been paying close attention, but the more research I did, the more convinced I became that really this is the future of computing is going to be highly focused on the cloud. And in this case, for Windows Azure, the cloud means platform as a service, which is developing essentially an operating system, like I said, where developers and IT pros can quickly deploy and get applications up and running without having to worry about everything from the run times and operating systems all the way down to the hardware and network configuration. So it's the return on investment, the savings, the lack of hassle that you get from leveraging something like this is, I think, going to be enormous. And right now we're in the early days of even defining what the cloud is and what platform as a service is. So I think it's a great time to join the team and help define that future.
Yeah, I think that's also a very interesting topic. And talking about future, so what do you think is Windows Azure and cloud in 5 to 10 years?
So what does Windows Azure and cloud in 5 to 10 years? I think if you look at what the cloud, what platform as a service gives you and the Azure model around it is high availability and scalability. Scalability, very easily for developers. In traditional server applications, the way that you get high availability and scalability is by building up big machines, adding more memory, adding more disks, setting them up in clusters to try to get availability. The cloud model is a lot more is different, where the applications are designed from the start to be scalable and available. And I think that you're going to eventually see all the major server applications go to this model because it's so much more efficient and scalable and available at a much lower cost than doing the traditional build-up clustering server solutions that we've got today. So I think that in 20 years, you won't be able to buy a standalone server. You'll buy a box that's a cluster of, a group of servers inside. The hardware prices and performance are going to be such that they're going to be very affordable, and there's no reason to go buy a single machine when you can get the availability and scalability out of one of these that you can then combine with others, even if you want to grow out past that.
Yeah, so keyword private cloud and stuff like that.
Yeah, private cloud. We've announced in the Windows Azure that we are going to be developing a platform appliance. Windows Azure Platform Appliance is called. That will let people deploy Windows Azure operating system into their own data centers or hosters to buy the appliance and host applications in environments that are not suitable for the public cloud. For example, if you've got government regulations about where data can be and how access to data, or you want to make sure you're running the applications in your own data center where you've got more control, the appliance will fill those needs.
So, sounds very interesting. So I just swift a bit the topic, but still Windows Azure. Everybody knows you wrote sysinternals. So should there be probably, or should we expect Azure version of sysinternals?
Yeah. There will be. In fact, I'm working on the first sysinternals Azure tool right now. It's about 80% done. It's a storage explorer. So it's a tool that lets you manage Azure storage, blob storage tables and queues. And I hope to have that out in the next few weeks. It's actually my first WPF.NET application, so it's breaking ground in a few different ways. I've become a fan of Expression Blend, and C# is now.
It's getting more connected more and more, so it's very good. So, and since you are into the topic already, I think, can you just name some short, interesting facts about Azure, like some stats you know by yourself, like how much people are working on the team?
Sure.
Thank you.
The exact number I don't know for sure, and there's multiple aspects of looking at the way how many people at Microsoft are working on Windows Azure. There's the Azure platform itself, and the Windows Azure platform team is the Fabric controller, the storage team, the networking team, and the developer experience and portal team. So there's 4 teams that make up the platform, but that's not all the people that are working on Windows Azure, because we're moving a lot of applications to Windows Azure. System Centers just announced they've got a Windows Azure application monitoring for System Center Operations Manager. So Bob Muglia at the PDC, the way he said it, Server and Tools Division is about 10,000 people. He said about half of those people are working on the cloud.
Yeah, sounds interesting. So, and I just have one question. Me as a student, do you have anything to say, a message or something like that, to students who are going to be technology professionals or something? Is there any message you want to deliver to students?
I would say that you've got to let your curiosity drive you. I mean, this is what really propelled me is wanting to find the answers to things, not letting a question go unanswered. Because even if you're going off into things that aren't directly related to where you think you want to be, you're going to learn something useful that you come back and apply in ways that you don't anticipate in the future. But go deep into whatever you want, but also don't be afraid to go off and explore areas that aren't directly in your area of interest.
Oh, very nice. And one more question about the competition. So what do you think makes Microsoft, or some features of Microsoft, better than Google and Amazon? I really have to ask that question, because I think...
Well, talking from the Windows Azure perspective, like I said, we're in the whole world is defining what a cloud is, what platform as a service is, what software as a service is, and I think that Microsoft's better positioned than anybody for defining platform as a service. If you look at the cloud operating system that I've been mentioning, the functionality that we've got, nobody else has at this point. And then if you combine that with the fact that we're building up a bunch of components that can be used to create cloud applications, we've got assets that nobody else has. We've got, for example, App Fabric caching, so a caching service that's built on Azure that applications can take advantage of to cache arbitrary data for high-speed access. Access control server, so this is an identity solution for the cloud. And all of this stuff we're just building out. You're going to see more and more services like these become part of the Windows Azure story. And if you look at all those pieces, they're going to provide this rich foundation for applications, but you also look at how Microsoft itself is taking a bet on Windows Azure. You're going to see a lot of server applications. When you already see SQL Azure, for example. I mean, SQL Azure is an asset that nobody else has. It's a SQL server built on top of Azure, getting the availability and scalability that Azure gives it. You're going to see a lot of other applications like that move onto the platform as well.
I read also that Steve Ballmer said in some years up to 90% of Microsoft will work somehow with the cloud. and Azure. And so, do you think that the Windows operating system, that some parts or big parts will be shifted to the cloud? Like that it's more service-based? Of course, we need operating system on a desktop, but will be there more software, more services connected directly with Windows?
I think you'll definitely see a lot more of that. I mean, you've been seeing this transition over time. And the way that Microsoft now delivers cloudish type applications and services to Windows is through Windows Live, the Windows Live suite of stuff. Like Messenger, obviously, Messenger is a cloud application. It's always been a cloud application. But you're going to be seeing, Photo Gallery posting pictures up to the cloud directly from Photo Gallery. So you're going to see all this integration. The line's going to be very blurry, and I think every application is going to have a cloud component. It's just no question. Like if you look at the phone and the apps on the phone, they all have cloud components of some kind. So I'm not sure exactly how the line is going to be drawn between Windows and the cloud parts of it, but yeah, definitely you'll see integration.
The experience must be made.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good last word from you. Yeah. So I thank you for the interview, and I wish you good luck for the rest of the tech and fun.
Okay, thanks, Sebastian. My pleasure.